We now move to the next item of business, which is general questions. But before I take the first general question, I wish to clarify that, as in last session, members who have a general question also have a supplementary. Other members can also press their button should they wish to ask a supplementary to that particular general question. And just because you've been selected to ask a general question does not preclude you from asking a supplementary to another general question, or indeed a question to the First Minister later this afternoon. So, Colin Beattie.
To ask the Scottish Government whether it will provide an update on the progress of the Sheriff Hall roundabout project.
Cabinet Secretary Stephen Flynn.
Thank you, Presiding Officer, and congratulations on your new role. It certainly suits you. The Scottish Government is committed to the promotion of improvements at the Sheriff Hall roundabout as part of a £300 million commitment to the Edinburgh and South East Scotland City Region deal. The Scottish Spending Review includes funding to continue to make progress in delivering these improvements, and the project is also included in the infrastructure delivery pipeline. The scheme remains subject to a statutory authorisation process, including the consideration of outstanding objections and the report of a public local inquiry. Now, I know that Colin Beattie MSP is eagerly awaiting conclusion of that process, and I want to assure him that work on this is continuing at pace. I am awaiting urgent advice from officials on this project, and I will provide a further update to Mr Beattie and others with an interest in this matter as soon as possible. If the scheme is ultimately authorised, the construction of the proposed scheme can commence thereafter, when a programme and timetable for the scheme's progress can also be set.
Colin Beattie.
I thank the Cabinet Secretary for his response. It's now almost 9 years since funding for this project was first announced, and my constituents are growing very concerned about the delay. Will the Minister outline what reassurance can be given to the people of Midlothian North on when the scheme is going to be delivered?
Cabinet Secretary.
Absolutely. Look, I'm new to this chamber, but I'm certainly not new to the challenges of traffic at the Sheriff Hall roundabout, the delays which have been experienced in relation to this project, the advocacy of Mr Beattie, which I think is reflected in the fact that he's been re-elected to this chamber on 4 separate occasions. And I share the frustration of individuals who have been impacted by the delays in this project, and they are keen to see progress made. But I would just remind colleagues that 2,770 objections were made. Some 1,200 pieces of information are there to be analysed. But the assurance I can give, notwithstanding the depth of that detail, is that we are very keen to make progress in this regard, and I'll try to come back to this chamber as soon as possible with further details from Mr Beattie and indeed others with an interest in this matter.
Supplementary, Miles Briggs.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. And it is incredibly frustrating what the Cabinet Secretary has had to say. I raised this before Parliament went into election. Former Transport Secretary said she was angry and frustrated that we did not see the opportunity for a decision to be taken. Now, for 10 years, I've been asking different Transport Secretaries to get on and take a decision. What timetable can we expect to see for the Transport Secretary to come back to Parliament before summer recess would be ideally?
Cabinet Secretary.
I would reiterate the points that I've already made, and I understand the frustration that Mr Briggs puts forward. I would just re-emphasise to him that there were 2,770 objections and over 1,200 pieces of evidence given to the public local inquiry. It is important that due process is followed. I'm sure he would agree with me in that regard, but I share his frustration and that of those who want to see progress made, and I commit to him that we will come back to this chamber as soon as possible to give further detail.
Catherine Sangster.
To ask the Scottish Government what actions are being taken to address wildfire risks and to ensure appropriate
Excuse me, it was a supplementary to the question that was asked by Colin Beattie. Please resume your seat. Move to the next question. Emma Roddick.
To ask the Scottish Government what assessment it will undertake of any impact of its planned public sector reform on employment in Inverness and Nairn.
Cabinet Secretary Ivan McKee.
The Scottish Government will consider the impacts of public service reform across communities, including on employment, as we implement the public service reform strategy. The strategy recognises that improving delivery will involve workforce changes, and impact assessments, including an equality impact assessment, will be undertaken as proposals are developed. We will work closely with partners, including staff and trade unions, to support redeployment, reskilling and transition where necessary, while empowering staff who know their roles and service users best to improve and better integrate services. We will continue to engage with partners, including in Inverness and Nairn, as this work progresses.
Emma Roddick.
I thank the Cabinet Secretary for that answer, but he'll appreciate there is great concern amongst employees of government and arm's-length organisations in the Highlands who often do incredibly valuable work ensuring that national policies and decisions work for us. Many comments that were made during and after the election campaign by various parties regarding the size of the current workforce and budgets. So will any public service reform keep in mind that Highlands and Islands Enterprise, the Land Commission, many other organisations headquartered in the Highlands add real value to our policy landscape and protect local jobs in Inverness and Nairn?
Cabinet Secretary.
We are committed to providing effective and efficient public services across the country, and this includes the Scottish Government's objective to support economic activity and employment across all regions, including rural and island areas. And as our public service landscape changes, we will work with all parties, including public bodies, service users and trade unions, to ensure a smooth transition. This will include, of course, organisations in the Highlands, Islands and across the rest of the country.
Helen McDade.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. To ask the Scottish Government what role it has in response to the incident of subsidence in Coalsnaughton, near Kirkcaldy, in which 30 houses have been evacuated, as was then. It's now in 97. Thank you.
Cabinet Secretary Neil Gray.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. I welcome and congratulate you on your new role. The safety of residents is my first priority in that regard. I was pleased to meet with the leader of Clackmannanshire Council and the local chief constituency MSP, Keith Brown, on Friday last week to ensure that immediate support is in place for those affected. Following that meeting, the Scottish Government continues to work directly with the Council and Resilience Partnership to coordinate response efforts, and ministers have also activated the Bellwyn scheme and stand ready to provide assistance. The Mine Remediation Authority, whose decision-making is crucial in a case like this, is leading site investigations, and we will work closely with them to ensure these decisions progress as quickly as possible so that clear next steps can be identified for residents who will be understandably concerned and upset by what has happened to their homes.
Helen McDade.
Thank you. I thank the Cabinet Secretary for the answer, and as has been acknowledged, that has moved on to 97 houses at the last count. I also went and met some of the residents, and it's good to know that that working closely is happening. I would wonder, due to the seriousness of the incident and the likelihood of lengthy disruption to residents, will the Government commit to establishing an emergency hardship fund? Thank you.
Cabinet Secretary.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. And I congratulate Helen McDade on her election. I thank her for her questions. There are a number of steps that the Government has already taken to support both residents and Clackmannanshire Council in their immediate response. And can I take this opportunity to pay tribute to the immense effort that has gone in by Clackmannanshire Council staff, going above and beyond in order to support local residents. We've triggered the Bellwyn scheme. We are looking in Government to support the provision of additional support to Clackmannanshire Council with human resource support. We've also got neighbouring authorities providing assistance through local resilience partnerships. We are looking at potential support for geological surveying, and we're working with utility companies in order to support residents to ensure that they don't continue to be charged. I would also say that I am pursuing an immediate meeting with the MRA to ensure an immediate decision in terms of the mine workings having an impact or not, as well as looking to engage with the UK Government, given their responsibilities for the MRA as well. And I'm happy to keep both Helen McDade and the constituency MSP Keith Brown in touch.
Supplementary, Mark Ruskell.
This isn't the first time that residents have been evacuated short notice in Clackmannanshire. The RAC evacuations were badly handled by the council. Houses were boarded up, personal possessions were left to rot for months on end. I hope that lessons were learned from that incident about the need to address the trauma of the evacuees while at the same time protecting their personal safety. So can I ask the Cabinet Secretary what reassurances he has had that this evacuation will be handled more sensitively than the previous one?
Cabinet Secretary.
I welcome Mr Ruskell back to his place, congratulate him on his re-election. I hear that. That's part of what was discussed with the leader of Clackmannanshire Council and Keith Brown on Friday. I am confident that the local authority is doing all it can to provide that type of support. The greatest uncertainty facing residents, facing Clackmannanshire Council, is the decision-making around the Mining Remediation Authority, which will be critical in terms of the decisions going forward for insurers, for residents, for the Council and indeed for this Government. Responsibility for the MRA rests with the UK Government, which is why I am pursuing an urgent meeting both with the MRA and asking the UK Government to ensure that the fastest possible decision-making is taken in this case so that residents are able to get a clearer picture as to the situation.
Jamie Langan.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Can I ask the Scottish Government if it believes in a market economy and the role of the price mechanism within the economy?
Minister Tom Arthur.
The Scottish Government supports a fair economy and recognises that already not all goods and services within the economy operate under an unregulated free market price basis. Prices are often regulated to affect wider externalities such as societal or environmental harms, or to ensure a fair market price for those industries or sectors with natural monopolies. Scotland faces a cost of living crisis disproportionately affecting vulnerable households and placing pressures on public services. Rising energy, food and housing costs have made it harder for people to maintain a reasonable standard of living. As a result, the Scottish Government is clear it will take action where necessary to help protect people and support those most impacted by the cost of living.
Jamie Langan.
Can I thank the Cabinet Secretary for his response? However, in light of the Government's conversion of price controls, can he confirm if my constituents in South Scotland, who work day in and day out to put food on our plates, will be allowed to keep the full value of their produce, or they have to settle for an arbitrary sum decided by the Government?
I'll ask you only a minister. Tom.
Well, I can thank the member for his supplementary. And he raises a very important issue, which is the well-being, welfare and the sustainability of those who provide the food that we put on our tables. And I would want to reassure the member and reassure Parliament, recognising the significant interest that has already been reflected in the number of written questions I have received, that I will be engaging thoroughly and comprehensive with all relevant stakeholders, and indeed my door, as it always is in these matters, is open to all members of Parliament for deep, considered and thoughtful discussion on this policy.
Supplementary, Alan Brown.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Pre-election, the First Minister had a fantastic visit to see the farm operated by Cammy Wilson of the sheep game. Now, Cammy was also explaining eggs are an important strand of his farming business. So, similar to the previous question, just looking for assurance that while we tackle the cost of living, get affordable food in the supermarkets, farmers like Cammy will still receive a fair price for the produce he produces and won't be squeezed by the supermarkets.
Minister.
Well, can I thank Mr Brown for his question and again reiterating this important issue. I would just want to again be very clear that I want to ensure that we work constructively with all relevant stakeholders, recognising the nature of this policy and the importance of ensuring that we are able to achieve an effective implementation which realises the policy aims, which is about ensuring that the weekly shop is affordable. And I think that is something we would all agree on in the Chamber. And so to that end, I would welcome the constructive engagement of members to ensure that that policy outcome is what we can collectively achieve.
Paul McLennan.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Does the Minister share my view that Government has a responsibility to ease the burden on households during a cost-of-living crisis? This includes targeted interventions when a broken Brexit economy places essential goods out of the reach of Scottish households, struggling under decades of Westminster austerity.
Minister.
Well, the member raises a number of important points, which is recognising that while there are immediate and acute pressures emanating from the war in Ukraine and what will ensue from the war in Iran that are impacting upon the cost of living, this of course comes after a concatenation of crises from Brexit, austerity, the financial crash going back to 2008 and of course the legacy of the pandemic. So while we do not have the full range of powers within this Parliament to address and mitigate all of those impacts that are affecting people and their standard of living, I think it is incumbent upon us to look at where we can intervene to do so, and to do so in an effective, proportional way that supports those we are elected to serve.
Liam MacArthur.
Thank you. To ask what action the Scottish Government is taking to improve the resilience of island communities.
Cabinet Secretary Gillian Martin.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Our new National Islands Plan sets out a programme of targeted actions collectively aimed at advancing social, economic and cultural prosperity on our islands, strengthening their long-term resilience, and delivery of the plan is supported by a dedicated £6.25 million budget in 26-27, in addition to continuing island investments across all government portfolios. This funding will continue to support projects such as the development of Kirkwall Nursery, which received £1.6 million in funding in 2022-23, and our resolve to help island communities thrive will be further supported by our commitment to establish a £10 million Islands Resilience Fund within our first 100 days.
Liam MacArthur.
Can I thank the Cabinet Secretary for that response and welcome her to her post. I look forward to working with her. In the last year alone, communities across Orkney and Shetland have suffered multiple subsea cable failures, including a month-long broadband outage affecting Orkney's Northern Isles this spring. On each occasion, households, businesses and essential services have been hit hard. So does the Cabinet Secretary accept that these repeated failures demonstrate that network resilience remains inadequate in the Northern Isles? What specific steps will the Government take to strengthen critical digital infrastructure going forward? And will she agree to meet with me to discuss options and how these might be taken forward?
Cabinet Secretary.
I thank Liam MacArthur for that supplementary question. And first of all, I want to say that I want to meet with Mr MacArthur and around not just this specific issue. I know that he was fiercely representing that in the last Parliament on this particular issue around the cable outages, but on every single area of my portfolio which affects Orkney. We have got Project Gigabit procurement to further extend gigabit-capable broadband coverage to over 13,000 eligible premises across Orkney and Shetland. But I note that also Mr MacArthur had been trying to get the provider to do more in that space as well, and I certainly will do what I can to augment his attempts to get a little bit better and quicker resolution to some of the issues that he's found, if he so wishes me to do so.
Colette Stevenson.
To ask the Scottish Government, in light of the reported extension of the administration process of East Kilbride Shopping Centre, whether it will provide an update on its discussions with local stakeholders.
Minister Tom Arthur.
Presiding Officer, the East Kilbride Shopping Centre is an important economic asset that serves its local community through its wide range of shops, restaurants, offices, hotels and leisure facilities. My officials have spoken with the administrators, Interpath Advisory, who are working closely with key stakeholders, including South Lanarkshire House Council, to realise the site's master plan and secure the best outcome for East Kilbride. I will remain updated on the situation as it progresses.
Colette Stevenson.
I thank the Minister for that response. The impacts of this news on East Kilbride Master Plan and indeed the local economy of the town is worrying for many of my constituents. Can the Minister outline how the Scottish Government is working to support the retail economy, particularly in towns like East Kilbride, where there is a shopping centre rather than a high street, but also culture and affordable housing supply, given the links of these areas within the development plans?
Minister.
Well, can I thank Colette Stevenson for her supplementary and recognising her long-standing advocacy on behalf of her constituents in regard to this issue, and to reassure that the Scottish Government is committed to supporting the retail industry and will continue to engage directly with the sector to monitor the evolving impacts of the ongoing cost crisis, and we will continue to work with the strategic housing leads within South Lanarkshire Council to deliver on their priorities going forward. We also recognise that culture is important to Scotland's prosperity and national identity. We are offering a package of support to expand the reach and impact of cultural activities in communities. This includes funding the Cam Glen Buddies Leisure and Social Club within South Lanarkshire, giving adults with additional support needs the opportunity to produce their own films, for example.
Max Bannerman.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. To ask the Scottish Government whether its commitment to reform public services includes removing reported blockages and inefficiencies in delayed capital projects such as the A9 and A96 dualling to expedite their completion.
Cabinet Secretary Stephen Flynn.
The Scottish Government is committed to public service reform to ensure the delivery of excellent public services in a fiscally sustainable manner. The infrastructure delivery pipeline sets out investment plans for the next 4 years, and our work on public service reform will inform future updates. We have met all key targets since the A9 2023 delivery plan was published. Changes at this stage would increase disruption, reduce cost certainty and be at greater risk of delay than the published delivery plan. We also remain committed to dualling the A96, and we are already starting the dualling process from Inverness to Nairn.
Max Bannerman.
I thank the Cabinet Secretary for his answer and welcome him to his new post. Can I take this opportunity to pay tribute to my constituent, former MSP Fergus Ewing, for his steadfast work in holding this government to account on this issue. Presiding Officer, the A96 dualling from Inverness to Aberdeen was supposed to have been completed by 2030. In February, the then Transport Secretary admitted that construction of the Nairn bypass would begin in 2030. With new housing development and growing traffic, local residents frequently report it takes as long as an hour to drive the 2 miles of the A96 through Nairn. Does the Cabinet Secretary think that it is fair that local people should have to endure a worsening problem which should have been fixed by now?
Cabinet Secretary.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. I'm very familiar with the A96, given my own local geography, but I have to admire the brass neck of Max Bannerman to come to this chamber to lambast this government on delivery of the A9 and A96. When I read the Reform UK manifesto, and there was not one mention, a single mention of either of those projects. Perhaps that's why he came third in his constituency contest, less than half the votes of the Scottish National Party, because we are committed to both those projects. He can sit this one out, we'll get on and deliver.
Laura Mitchell, supplementary.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. It is, of course, wholly disingenuous to talk about delays to capital projects without talking about the financial pressures placed upon the Scottish Government by the fiscal and economic mismanagement at Westminster. So can I ask the Cabinet Secretary, what is your message, what is his message for my Murray constituents on behalf of this new SNP government who are eagerly awaiting the dualling of the A9 and the A96 and the benefits that these projects will deliver for my region?
Cabinet Secretary.
I thank Laura Mitchell for her question. My message is simple, and it's one which is unequivocal. We will deliver upon our manifesto commitments in relation to the A9. We will dual the A96. Work has already begun, and we will conclude it.
David Green.
Thank you, Presiding Officer, and can I welcome the Cabinet Secretary to his new role and wish him well. He'll be aware that my Liberal Democrat colleague Andrew Baxter has called for a dedicated A9 scrutiny committee in this Parliament. While this matter is for the Parliament, would the Cabinet Secretary welcome that? And can he also tell Parliament what further steps he will take to ensure that this project has the level of transparency that communities in the Highland deserve?
Cabinet Secretary.
I thank the member for his question, and I'm more than happy to meet with him to discuss both of those matters. In relation to scrutiny, I think we're evidencing scrutiny in action here right now in terms of this government's delivery and commitment to the A9, and we will continue to do that in this chamber to ensure that his constituents and people right across the Highlands know that they've got a government which is going to deliver upon its commitments to them.
And Catherine Sangster.
Thank you. To ask the Scottish Government what actions are being taken to address wildfire risks and to ensure appropriate resources given to the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service in light of last week's fire on Arthur's Seat in Edinburgh.
Cabinet Secretary Neil Gray.
So, thank you. I congratulate Catherine Sangster on her election. Her eagerness to get underway is well evident in this general question session. Can I start, Presiding Officer, by putting on record my thanks to the work of the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service dealing with the Arthur Seat grass fire so timiously. The Scottish Government Strategic Action Plan on Wildfires sets out a coordinated approach to preventing, preparing for and responding to wildfires. It includes actions to raise public awareness of wildfire risk, promote responsible outdoor behaviour and enhance danger assessments. We have seen widespread damage that wildfires can do, so it's crucial that everyone plays their part in acting responsibly, heeding those wildfire warnings and following advice when in the countryside to prevent fires from starting.
Catherine Sangster.
Thank you for that response. The Scottish Fire and Rescue Service will be meeting this month to decide on closures that will have impacts across Edinburgh and Lothian East regions. They are expected to push average local response times from the current 4 to 6 minutes to 6 to 8 minutes. So given the present risk of wildfires, can the public be sure that they are being made safe by these decisions?
Cabinet Secretary.
Yes, the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service received an additional £23.8 million in the latest budget. That takes total funding to £436 million. That underlines this government's commitment to keeping Scotland safe. The operational decisions for the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service around the deployment of those resources is for them to take, and of course we will work with them to ensure that the decisions that are taken around the infrastructure across Scotland are taken so in a proportionate way to ensure that the continued safety of residents is paramount. We also need to make sure that we're cognizant of the fact that with increased wildfires and reduced levels of house fires, that we are responding with the services in the right locations and with the necessary resources to respond to that changing dynamic, and that's exactly what I expect the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service to do.